get it together. All right. Welcome everyone. And eventually I'll start hearing an echo because of course I'm not muted on YouTube, but it's okay. Welcome. Mike Lead Aspires session today. Today we have another Mike Lead graduate that's going to be with us today and talking to you about, transitioning to cybersecurity later in life. I know even yesterday I was at the Secure World Dallas and I had some folks that were looking to transition into space, and they were like, "Well, am I too old?" I'm like, "No, not really, not at all." And let's get it out. Thank you, Mike. Welcome. Mike Lead Aspires, sponsored by AWS. For those of you that are on our YouTube channel watching this live, or those that are with us on Zoom watching this live, please put any questions you have in the chat. Put any questions you have on YouTube on the chat, and we will get around to them if you have them. Thank you, AWS, for sponsoring these sessions this year. We really appreciate it. I, again, can't believe that we're only 2 months out and the year's over, but we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep it moving. Like I said, today we have one of our Mike Lead graduates. Z is going to be talking to you guys about this thing. So if, like I said, like, subscribe, and you guys know how I do. I'm going to go off camera and allow Z to be on the mic. I'll be listening, and I'll be monitoring for you. So if there's any questions, I'll come off and go and ask the question. But I'm off now. Go right ahead, Z.
All right. Well, this is going to be my first time actually running a presentation. So hopefully the slides come through as I suspect. I didn't practice this, so this is another one of those transferable skills. It's called moving on the fly. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So again, I am Zaviera Evans, or Z Evans. My name is quite interesting, so it's always it's always interesting how people will pronounce it. But anyway, my talk today is about embracing cybersecurity as an older adult. And it's interesting being what I call seasoned in this realm, because like Mary just mentioned, people tend to think that, oh, it's for the young folks, or you have to be tech, so very tech savvy, and you don't. And part of my conversation will be my story on how I got to this particular space. And I'm fairly new, but not so new. I'm about 3 years in. But you'll bear with me as I tell this very intricate story on how I got here. But in the end, it'll all make sense. So just a little bit about me. I am currently an information security analyst, focusing on the GRC space, governance, risk compliance, for Flexjet here in Cleveland. And Flexjet is the overall operations center for the private jet industry here. So you can imagine the cybersecurity realm in our space is pretty important. Although there are only 3 of us, we are small but mighty. Just a little bit of even more history. I'm a graduate of Shaw High School, Tri-C, OU, Utica, and now currently I am pursuing a second master's at WGU, and I'll explain to you later in the presentation why I decided to do it that way. And then just recently, as of Saturday, I passed my certified in cybersecurity cert. It's actually my very first cert. So I'm kind of proud of myself because I have terrible test anxiety and I actually got through it, so it doesn't kill me. I'm an active member of Women in Cybersecurity. I'm the Cleveland ambassador the Ohio ambassador for Blacks in Cybersecurity. I am a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority. And then, as Mary mentioned, I am a MiC alum. And then just my support system, because we all need them. So why is this important? It's important to discuss transitioning or attempting to pivot into cybersecurity later in life, because again, there's certain myths and misconceptions as to how those of us can, in this space, can move in transition here. So as we all know, we've seen the job postings. There's so many postings for this cybersecurity, this information system, this risk person, that person. And our generation, I don't know what the dynamic is in this course right now, but our generation seems to be the ones that I think have a little bit more a little easier time transitioning, specifically because we're hybrid. I mean, we lived amongst a time when there wasn't technology and people didn't have. Not everybody had a computer in their home, much less in their pocket. And so we understand legacy software. We understand outdated computers. We understand what it's like to have to update and upgrade and continuously change things because we've lived it. And so, of course, we're also quote unquote young enough to learn technology and easily learn it. We're still very tech savvy. We want to be tech savvy. So I think the Gen X's, I hate to generalize people, but the Gen X's, I think, are really a fun group to transition to a life like this. So here's my story, and bear with me, my story is quite long and quite involved and quite extensive, and it involves a lot of things. It involves a lot of things that sorry, my husband just walked in. It involves a lot of things that may seem familiar to some and may not, but here it is. So my work experience started in about 2005, and follow me. I know this is going to be long, but follow me because you'll understand why I'm explaining this all and why this is important. But I started at Cuyahoga County Children's Services as a receptionist in the prosecutor's office, and my job was intaking the information from social workers that were removing children from abusive homes. And then I later moved up to a legal secretary where I was in charge of a specific courtroom, managing all the lawyers in that courtroom and dealing with dockets and motions and journal entries, et cetera. And then I moved to an investigator where I was in charge of assisting with finding homes, the families of the children that we removed. And we were successful in finding a lot of families of children who had been removed so that the families could take either custody or they would have a familiar placement with the families. After I left the county, I moved to the city of Cleveland. I went to the city of Cleveland and the law department where I was the executive assistant to the law director. So you can imagine, again, there's some levels of the confidentiality that is, I'll mention now, a transferable skill with dealing with legal matters. That also, again, I'll explain later, is a transferable skill when it comes to compliance. I'll share that later. And then I decided, you know what, I'm moving on from here. So then I moved to a company that was called CGI Federal, where I was assistant to the vice president. At that point, I decided, you know what, I'm kind of tired of the support staff. I want to move up to do something else. So I went to Cuyahoga Community College and got my associate's degree in web development because I was kind of interested in developing. I'd already done some programming. I interned my summers at NASA here in Cleveland. And so I did a lot of computer programming with, I'm dating myself, but with Fortran, which later became C or something, I think. I can't remember. I don't do development anymore. But I decided to take that. And then when I got my degree, my manager said, okay, well, we'll give you the opportunity to meet with the developers and see if you like that team or go with the help desk. And I spent probably 2 days with developing and said, nope, I don't like this. And so I went to help desk and loved it. I learned so much about hardware and user interaction and the onus of teaching the users the best space when it comes to working with technology. And one of the things that I really began to focus on at that time was virus, not necessarily virus scanning, but removing viruses. It became a passion of mine where, even the other techs would just go, here, just give it to Zaviera because she can figure it out. And that became pretty much a passion of mine. So in the midst of that, I decided, well, I don't want to be help desk forever. So I went back to school and I got my bachelor's degree from OU in technical management because, of course, everybody wants to move up. And I thought that, oh, this would include some technical writing and some dealing with users or people who may not be the best, may not have the best personalities or dealing with complicated situations. So I learned some of those skills with that degree. Now, while working at CGI Federal, I met a person who was he did startups and he decided that he wanted to create a bandwidth optimization product that he could send to rural countries where they had very slow internet. So I said, sure, I'll move there. I'll help you. And that job, though it didn't last, it actually was where I found cybersecurity because the brother of the CEO owned his own cybersecurity consulting firm. Had no idea what that was at the time. He just came in one day. We had lunch. We all were having lunch, and he said that's what he did. So I picked his brain. I mean, I swear I was like emailing him probably 4 or 5 times a day to the point where he just like brain dumped everything and almost said, "Okay, leave me alone. Here's everything I know." So in the midst of that, I decided, oh, okay, I probably need to get another degree. Because back then, and mind you, this is 2015, 2016, only 6 years ago, that cybersecurity was not as massive as it is right now. There weren't very many colleges that hosted or offered these kind of degrees. So I found Utica College in New York, and Utica is backed by the NSA. Majority of their professors at the time, I don't know if that's still true, at the time were former FBI, were former NSA, were former cyber terrorism professors or workers, employees, and they taught us so many things. But again, that was in cyber operations. And at that time, when I graduated in 2018, in fact, when I graduated in 2018, I think the amount of schools had tripled as to which ones offered cybersecurity. That's how fast this realm grows and is growing and continues to grow. But of course, as I said, that job did not last. The business did not make it. And so I was on the job track again. So I found a job at a company called Zen Technologies, ironically, was a subcontractor for NASA. So I worked there initially as a help desk tech because of course, I hadn't even graduated yet. And just so happened one day I was in my CFO's office and he was looking up a document called the CMMC, which is the cybersecurity model maturity model certification. It's basically, if you're not familiar with it, it is basically the certification that companies who want to do any manufacturing business with the DoD or the government would need to be certified in. So he was looking into that because, again, like I said, there's a subcontractor for NASA, which is a government job. And I mentioned to him, "Oh, I just read this document. Are we looking at getting that?" And his eyes perked up and said, "Why are you reading that? Do you know anything about that?" And I said, "Well, I just graduated with my master's." Long story short, I became the only information security analyst at Zen Technologies. Then it became very clear that my boss did not want me to he didn't really want me to move above him. So I started looking again, and then it ended up where I am now at Flexjet, and I'm very happy here. My staff and my managers are so supportive. They're constantly trying to teach me things, and move me forward. They don't see age as a crutch, but a a a blessing, because I have some very transferable skills, and that's what makes me an asset in this realm. And so, like I said, now that I've been here, I'm realizing that the degree that I had at Utica, or received at Utica, doesn't fill a gap that I'm missing. And that gap is some of the technical skills that make it a little easier for me to understand what questions I need to ask my team when it comes to compliance, when it comes to auditing, et cetera. So I took it upon myself, and now I'm currently going for a second master's degree at WGU. It is an interesting program, but it is filling a gap nonetheless. And so I say all that story to say, don't let the age thing stop you from moving forward. I mean, I got my bachelor's degree at almost 40. I've got a master's degree at 45, and now I'm going for another one at almost 50. And age is nothing but a number. It's just what it is. The stop gates that people throw up in front of us, especially being minorities and especially being women, there's ways around it. You don't have to rah burn the walls down, but you can get around them, and they don't even know you moved those walls. That's just my part of the story. But some common myths, of course, we talked about this. Is it too late for me? Definitely is not. Age brings wisdom. I've had some invaluable skills that nobody can take from me. I mean, how to read legal documentation. I read so many briefs and so many appellate documents, and I can read these controls and I can read these legislations and know what I'm reading because I have those skills. And again, they can't take that from me. Technology is for younger generations. It absolutely is not. Like I said before, we are just as tech savvy. We can learn. We aren't dinosaurs. We're not extinct. If you have a brain, you can use it. And I don't feel bad when I have to ask a younger person, what does that mean? Or what is that? They'll chuckle, but eventually they'll tell me because I really want to know. And that's really for any generation. The same with the older generations versus the younger. Don't sell them out because they want to know. If they really want to know, bring them along. That's the point. Um, we need each other. We need the youth and the energy from. We need the spryness and the energy from the youth, and the youth need our life experience that you can't buy. And then I won't be able to keep up. That's another myth. I don't know why even that's there, but it's so big. There's so many different parts of this. And again, like I say, I focus on GRC. I have a peer who focuses on threat hunting. He absolutely adores it. And he has no desire to learn anything about compliance, nor does he know anything about compliance, and vice versa. I know more about threat hunting than he knows about compliance. And he's been at our job for 23 years, but he's also older than me. Let's see. So how can older adults embrace and pivot into this career? So some of the tips that I have, and again, these are my tips. This is what has worked for me. This isn't a cookie cutter. And I tell a lot of people that, there's no cookie cutter way into this. Finding your niche, using those transferable skills. Like I said, I use, and I have another slide about how some of those transfer, but don't just think you need to have 15 certifications to do this. You don't. Don't think you need 2 master's degrees to do this. You don't. That's just the path I took. It's those skills that are very useful, and you can't teach that. You cannot teach. You can, but you can't. You can't teach being able to understand legal documentation for what it is, not in 2 months, not in 3 months. That takes years. You can't teach dealing with difficult people. You can, but you can't. That takes experience. You can't always teach dealing with users who don't understand technology. You can, but you can't. Again, that takes some understanding, some empathy, some wisdom, and some relatableness. Like you need to be able to relate to who you're trying to teach. So some of the transferable skills that I'll break down, I only have a couple, but Many of the soft skills that like roles like mine or secretary and help desk have really benefited me are communication. Communication is key here. You can know all the ins and outs and you can know so many different parts, but if you can't relay that message to your people, then it's useless. If you can't create a report that your upper management is going to be able to follow in maybe 10 minutes, it's useless. You can create charts and do vulnerability scans and all of those things that are quite technical and quite impressive. But if you can't communicate that, if you can't write it down and make it make sense, what's the point? And so jobs like being a secretary and being on help desk have honestly been very helpful for me in moving forward because I can verbalize those things to the everyday person. One of the things that I actually am passionate about in the GRC space is the user user security awareness training. I actually have created the entire program at my job now where I do all the fish testing and do all of the security awareness training. And now I'm actually creating packages for our new users, specifically in our UK offices because they have to follow certain regulations. And those are the things that don't always come across in a training or in a classroom setting. These are things where you have to be almost in the trenches with your users to understand how they learn and how they their time management and what they need to see, how fast they need to see it. I mean, one of the things that I'm very happy about is that the program that we chose to teach our users, the videos are literally 4 minutes. I mean, 4 minutes. And that's the thing that you being in the trenches and being one of those users, you understand how important timing is and how, I can't spend, if I don't want to spend 10 minutes watching a video, I know for a fact they don't want to. So that helps you especially being in help desk, it helps you focus and solidify those skills when you get into a space like that. And then another skill is really documentation. Like I said, if you can't write these things down, you can't make them make sense because that document's going to follow this program very long, especially if you're like me writing policies. If the technical people can understand it, but the executives can't, that's not going to help you. If the executives can understand it, but the technical people are going, what do I care about? How much money we're saving? Does this fix this? Does this work? You have to be the bridge between those, especially this. This seems to be what we are as cybersecurity, information security analysts, where we, without risking the security, we have to understand the business sense. So we have to merge the IT with the executives. We just we just are those people. But again, that's one of those properly documenting, incidents, because the next person behind you is going to want to know what happened. When you're doing a disaster recovery plan, you want to make sure that all makes sense, because in a disaster type of situation, you don't want to have to be trying to figure out what does this mean and what are they trying to say. It needs to be spelled out. And those are the skills that you really need at the beginning, because they're gonna really come out in those kind of situations. And the advantages of being an older adult in this space is that we've done a lot of risky things, so we understand risk management. I mean, we've lived in a space where there were no cell phones, so you had to trust your parents had to trust you and where you were going. Um, we've done and lived through, and not just those things, but those again are the life experiences is what makes this job a little bit easier. Coming out the box, you can't get that experience. You can't buy experience, unfortunately. I wish it was that simple, but it isn't. And so that is one of the advantages of being an older adult, is that you've seen things and you've experienced things, and you can say, oh yeah, I can relate to that because yada, 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 whatever fits. And then the ethical grounding, I'll add this only because I know there's the parental part of me that goes, yeah, wag finger, don't do that. But it's simply because we have experienced how all of those things can go wrong because we've probably been the reason that they did. And we can say, yeah, I wouldn't try that. Now, you may not listen, but you can't come back and say, hey, they didn't tell me. Yeah, we did. But again, that's not just life. That's in this job, it's, oh, I've seen how rogue a worm can get, or I've seen where um, a user didn't understand their job when it came to the business continuity plan. We need to make sure this is explained. And that's where, again, the experiences and having done jobs like these for a long time can come into play. So learning paths, I add them all here. It is, again, like I said, there's no cookie cutter on how this works. For me, formal education was what did it, but you could do online classes, certification. I mean, the sky's the limit. And this age is very lucky to me in that you have that many paths and that you have that many avenues. And it's lucky to us too, because those of us who are in this realm need to continue to keep our skills up to date and keep our learning up to date. We're forever students. It's just what it is. We are forever students because we cannot let our education lack. We cannot let our skills lack. We cannot let any of that lack, or we will be in trouble. But again, these learning paths are, you can mix and match and move them around or X one out. It is truly, truly, truly up to how you see it and what works for you. There's no one way. I've had so many people go, oh, I want you to mentor me. Okay, I want to get into cybersecurity. Okay, great. Are you a educational person? Are you a certification person? And their eyes just look at, they just stop like a deer in the headlights and go, I don't know. Well, because there's so many ways to do this. Mary knows, anybody who's doing this knows, yeah, I have almost two master's degrees, but that's what worked for me. Again, there's so many other ways to do this. Networking is so important. As an introverted extrovert, I know it's very hard to hard to see that I'm an introvert. I was so scared of networking, and but attending conferences. I mean, I've been to conferences where I'm the only woman. I've been to conferences where I'm the only Black person. I've been to conferences where I'm the only Black woman. I mean, it's what it is, but you have to network. I mean, IC Squared, go to the meetings, join as a candidate, go to the meetings. Most of the cities have local chapters. Go to the meetings, go meet people. ISACA has memberships. MiC obviously has the conference. And if you are lucky enough to attend, unfortunately, I cannot. But if you are going to that conference, from what I hear, it is phenomenal. I love you, Mary. I'm gonna come one day, but we all know the story. But networking is so important, and not just in face to face. I mean, even LinkedIn. And I was another being in this generation that we're very leery of social media, or was very leery. Use it for what it is. It is a tool. It is a tool that you can use to your advantage. And LinkedIn is amazing. You can't even imagine how far a post can go. It reaches worlds you would not even imagine. And as you grow that networking tier, you'll see that you become an ear for people. Sometimes I use my Facebook. Yep, I'm dating myself, but I still have Facebook, and I do use it because I focus on the older generation of folks who I don't want to get scammed. So I constantly post my scam of the week or my tips of the month or any of those. It's been October. I have just been flooding my timeline with, how not to use public Wi-Fi's and making sure you're checking those apps before you download them, because the younger generations understand this, but the older ones don't necessarily get that. And they now have phones. Gma has a phone, but Gma is downloading apps that nobody's checking. So I don't want to see Gmod get hacked. So that is where I find my passion, is teaching those who have no idea that this space is for them. And cybersecurity is for everybody. It's not just an IT thing, it's for everybody. But using LinkedIn as your platform or whatever social media platform you choose is essential because it gets your name out there without you having to travel or having to leave your space, leave your seat. You can share posts and use your thoughts or create posts and ask for help. I mean, it's a abundant amount of information. And again, that wasn't something that we had in our as growing up as in the 90s, 2000s. Yikes. Um, but it's not something that we had available to us. So use those tools. It's yes, the your footprint is what it is, but you have a footprint. If you have a phone, you have a footprint. Why not use the space? Embracing change. Again, we we tend to be those that because we're hybrid, we're we're cool with things adapting and moving and changing. I can't speak for those older than me, but I know some though of those older than me, and the fist in the air, these newfangled XYZs. We're not that generation. I actually adore things that are new and shiny, and I can learn it and tear it apart and figure it out because that's what we did. Um, Another thing is staying up to date on the trends. I mean, following the cybersecurity news. Yes, you can get fatigued, but find that one forum that you get the information from that you really trust, and use that again to pivot over to the social media and go, hey, I saw this story. If you have an Apple, make sure you update because I've done a lot of that. And then again, continuing to learn. Never stop learning. Once you learn it, they can't take it. I don't care what happens, they can't take it. Security certifications, yep, they work. If they work for you, perfect. Going to workshops, amazing. Especially if you can find free ones or ones that your job will pay for, excellent. Go to those. Overcoming the challenges. We we tend to, and I am also one of those people that has imposter syndrome, but when I find it happening to me, I reach out again to my network. Some of my MiC cohorts, I've reached out to some of them and said, hey, I'm dealing with this, let's talk. Same thing for me. If they're dealing with something or they just want to shoot the breeze or run something by me, this is what this networking is for. When you graduate from this, as you see, Mary doesn't let you go away. Um, it is phenomenal, and of what the networking realm in this has been, because I've met some amazing, amazing individuals that have like really made me almost shameful of not knowing certain things. And I'm the type of person, if I don't know, I'm gonna go figure it out, because I'm kind of nosy, and that's just me. Um, you kind of have to be nosy in this realm, but it has widened my mind and expanded my education, and it's just you know keep learning. Even if you read one thing once a day, that's always in there. You'll see something about it, something will spark it. Keep learning, keep learning. Don't worry about imposter syndrome. It is normal, it is natural. If you don't have imposter syndrome ever in your life, you're either a robot or you're doomed to fail. You just are. We know what we know. We know what we know. I know what I know. But this is a normal feeling, and it's okay. Don't let it overcome you. Don't let it overwhelm you. Seek out help whenever you're dealing with that, or go back and read something, learn something. Figure it works. When I've had those things, I go back and I go read a report I did and go, yep, I knew my stuff right there. Okay, we're good. We're back. But don't let that stop you from pushing forward with this, because we need all the help we can get. Just a few recap tips. Leverage your experience, especially as an older adult. We have so many things that we don't even think could be transferable. They could be. Problem solving, leadership, are all transferable, and they're all valuable. Start with the basics, go back to the concepts, learn the technologies and the terminologies, current threats. I mean, you see who gets hacked, MGM got hacked, you know, it's a hack, probably 4 or 5 hacks a day. Go read the stories, read what happened, read how they got in. Follow those. Set alerts on your browser to send you the information when the news stories come out. That's how you learn. Using resources like Cybrary or LinkedIn Learning, and even YouTube has tons and tons and tons of hacker content or GRC content. Udemy is another one that has a vast amount of classes that are pretty reasonable. And another is network. Again, like I said, networking, joining groups, ISC squared, MiC, Blacks in Cybersecurity, all of those groups are essential to us moving forward and us getting the knowledge and the networking and the connections that we need to be successful here. A couple more, setting up a home lab. I know Try Hack Me, I think, has now, of course, GRC, but Try Hack Me is another one where you can actually use at-home labs, play around in it. How else can you learn? How else could, I know the old story, how can I get experience? How can I get a job if I don't have experience? And how can I get experience if I don't have a job? Well, this is one way. I'm not saying it is the way, but it is one way to get some of that experience, because you can actually put that on your resume that you did a home lab. And I know people that have put that on their resume, and some of them have landed jobs because of it. Like I said earlier, stay up to date, read. Even if it's 2 or 3 sentences. I'm not saying you have to read a dissertation, but read, follow the news. These criminals are, wow, that's all I can say. I mean, some of the things, and now you have AI, and they are, yikes. Like, if you aren't prepared for some of these things, you are going to get run over. But follow those stories, because they have a lot of teachable information in them. And then seek mentorship. Minorities in Cybersecurity is great in finding mentors and setting up the mentorship program. I absolutely adore Mary's program. I honestly was not expecting to get as much from it as I did, way, way more than I expected. And I didn't put into it as much as I should have, which is why I'm sitting in this chair, because I love Mary, and Mary is just an amazing person to know. And so programs like this are important to us, because find a mentor that's interested in teaching you. And if you don't like that one, there's no harm, no foul. Somebody will help. This is what we do. Excuse me. Emphasizing those transferable skills. Don't forget about them. Don't rule them out. Just because you were a secretary at one point doesn't mean you'll never be sitting in a chair like this. And consider an intermediate role. We don't always want the help desk role, but obviously help desk helps. If you can get into a job somewhere you may want to work, and they have a cybersecurity team. I mean, I was lucky enough that I was allowed to shadow the help desk team, and that's how I got into help desk. It's use those resources. Don't feel ashamed that you take a job, to use it as a stepping stone to move forward. And then remember, age is just a number, and it is a wealth of experience. I mean, age is what it is. As long as you are on this side of the dirt, you are of substance, and you are needed, and you can do this, because I did it. If I can do this, you certainly can. And I put this up there because always celebrate your wins. I was only the Cleveland ambassador, but now I'm in the Ohio ambassador for Blacks in Cybersecurity. Really wasn't something I was expecting to be, but what that means, if you're wondering, is I manage meetings. I actually represent Blacks in Cyber as a go-between. And so now I have minorities in cybersecurity to represent well. I hope Mary's proud of me. But the networking that this has brought me has been, you can't, if I could bottle it up and sell it, I'd probably be rich. But these are the types of things that you put yourself out there, take the risk, you know, go above and outside of your box. You never know where it's going to lead you. And that's me. There's my information. Follow me on LinkedIn, you know, connect with me. Um, I have some things that I share out there, or if I find something interesting, I'll post it. But you know, don't feel scared to inbox me and ask me any questions that you may not have asked today, or you know, any of those connections that I have. I'm glad to share them with anybody.
Well, look at that. There you go. Congrats. You did a good job.
Thank
I
you. You
did.
taught me
I had
well.
a, you know what? And that's all that matters, right? I have a couple of things going on. And I'll do the serious one instead of the funny first, because I'm throwing shade at a couple people. But James said, you know, confirming that imposter syndrome is the feeling of not belonging. Now, Z and I have a different opinion about imposter syndrome. My whole thought process is, because like, look at how many degrees this woman has. There is absolutely no way that she could walk in any room and feel less than, because most of the time minorities and women overcompensate because we want to do all of the things, all the certifications, all the degrees, all of this, and we're overcompensating for it. And then we get in the room and wonder if we're supposed to be in the room. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. And again, stop it. It's, you know, what you will find if you stop thinking about yourself and start listening to others is they don't know what they're doing either. And so the
That's the truth.
reality is your viewpoint, your diversity in thought is valued because you understanding you're not supposed to be in the room to think like everyone else. You're not in a room to think like a white man because you're not, right? And that's the point. That's the whole point of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is, and belonging. They didn't added some other letters. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
all that to say is you are valued. Your opinion is needed. Your experience, whether that is from, you know, the inner city all the way up to, you know, you went to a Ivy League school. It doesn't matter. Those viewpoints are important. That's important when you're, you know, writing the AI, you know, algorithms, and you're trying to get the AI to learn to be not racist, you know, that's, you know, female view, LGBTQIA view, all of the views, all of the things need to
Mm-hmm.
be built in AI, or we're going to do the same issue with AI that we're having right now, which is the unconscious bias, just flat out racism and things like that. So I'm here to tell Z and everybody else out there who's listening, stop it, stop it, stop it.
I didn't
Imposter
say it
syndrome is
not.
done.
I didn't say it wasn't good. It just said it's normal. It's just normal.
It's normal to feel that way. That's because you don't understand your own power,
That's true.
right? And you and your power is in your diverse viewpoint, right? And that okay. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off. I'm
There
gonna
go
get
that
off.
Aries. There go that Aries coming out.
Yeah,
I see it.
yeah,
I see it. I
yeah.
feel
You
it
see it all day, every day, all
every
day,
day.
every day. My shade, my shade. Gina, you're out there on YouTube. Ohio University is not Oklahoma University. Oklahoma University is the Sooners. Ohio University is not. I'm gonna need you to do better about connecting your mascots with what. Yeah, I'm throwing shade out there to Gina and out there talking about OU. Oh, Sooners, no. Oh, you're not
Mm-mm.
even here down here. It's
Go
Gophers. It's the
Bob,
Gophers.
go Bobcats.
Bobcats.
Go
Okay, I'm sorry.
Bobcats.
It surely wasn't a Sooner, but okay. Uh,
No,
is
no,
there
not a
any
Sooner.
questions? I answered the Q&A. Are there any other additional questions before I start to ask a question? No? All right, well, we can chat. What keeps you going, Z? I mean, you know, we talk about Gen X. I'm Gen X. You know I'm Gen X. I'm 51, right? And I was asked yesterday by one of the apprentices, is there something else next? And I shared, or I don't think I completed the thought because, of course, I was multitasking. There was another call came through, but essentially, I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to do in this space. I am a lawyer. I have the Esquire, I have the CISSP, and I have the CIPP. I am not going for another certification, nor am I going for another degree. But if you're academic, if you're you have that thirst for knowledge. That's what the path that you chose. But what's next, right?
Yeah.
That's you're Aries too, so I know how we do. But again, what's next after you complete this one? Because I'll let you answer the question. Go ahead. What's next?
We're goal diggers, as my husband puts it. So so I don't know. I mean, I have always had aspirations of being a consultant, just because I think that's where it all started for me was that bug of, oh, I can just kind of help people along in this process. And I don't feel like I want to always be at some point I'm not gonna be no longer gonna be able to be the hands and touch everything kind of person. I'm gonna have to transition to something more mental, I suppose. And of course, my husband is now talking about retirement. So I'm like either jealous or you're crazy. I mean, he's young too, so but that's because he's a lawyer and he has like 35 years in. He can do that. But what's next? What's next? I don't know. I don't I honestly would have never paid money to I would have bet myself and lost if I said I was going back to school. I just would have. But when I realized there was a gap, I said, well, if I got to take all these classes, I might as well get a degree out of it. That's just my thought process. And I never know. This brain, I don't know. She does what she does.
I know.
I follow like the good little shepherd because you never know what path she's gonna take. And that's where being a risk taker and being in having this type of wisdom in life, you just kind of know yourself and know if I get out of my own way, I'm gonna lead myself where I need to be. And that's where I'm sitting here right now.
That's amazing. I do have a couple questions. So, are there any news outlets related to cybersecurity you can share?
Off the top of my head, so I use Twitter. If you follow a lot of the sites, the people on Twitter.
It's not Twitter, it's X. I'm sorry.
Well, X. See, showing my age again. Rite Aid or whatever. Um, yeah, on X, even though I haven't been on it that much, but LinkedIn, I mean, it's a wealth of info and it links you to so many different stories and articles. I mean, CISA, I follow that stuff simply because you kind of have to understand the vulnerabilities and the CISA. That one's one. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, I create RSS feeds for myself. So, in my personal email as well as work and my team's channel. And I get those fed in, but go out there and search them and then do the RSS feeds so that you don't have to chase them down. They come to you, let the technology work for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. Someone has a question for me. I applied to the next MiC cohort. When will the results come in? It all depends. We have several different cohorts that we're running. Okay, so we have the builders and we have the communicators and we have the apprenticeship program. I don't know which one you applied for, but let me explain to you what happens if you apply for the MiC Lead Builders or Communicators course. Applications close December the 1st. We will be reviewing and sending that information out before the end of the year, because of course the MiC Lead sessions start in January. So that's that. The apprenticeship program applications won't open until January. To avoid the confusion, the apprenticeship program applications open in January. That next cohort will start in March. So for those of you that applied to the lead courses, you will get an answer before the end of the year because you will have an assignment going into the first of the year. For those of you that are looking to be apprentices, you won't be able to apply to the apprenticeship program until January. I hope that answered the question. Okay, you applied for the builders program. Good. I'm glad that answered your question. So any other questions out there? We have a couple, we got 5 or 10 minutes. Let me check YouTube because I was hating on Gina. Hold on.
Poor Gina.
Let's see. I am 52 and transitioning into cybersecurity from IT Helpdesk. Can the apprenticeship program help you? Yes, it can. So, okay, right now, what we're doing, our apprentices, we have 54 or so apprentices that are all being trained as a cybersecurity analyst. A cybersecurity analyst, SOC 1 analyst, is relatable to an IT help desk person. So understand that you're going to be doing ultimately the same thing, but just from a security perspective as opposed to an IT perspective. IT availability, security. Z has a virus. You need to get her off the network. She ain't doing what she's supposed to do. So it's the same, but it's different. So a lot of the transferable skills Z we're talking about from the help desk apply to a SOC 1 cybersecurity analyst role, because guess what? You as a SOC 1 cybersecurity analyst are not going to be able to clean the computer. You're going to have to talk to the IT help desk to go out and get them to get Z off the network to clean the computer. So they're related. So that SOC 1 and IT help desk people, they look the same. They're doing ultimately the same. They're partners, right? You're just looking at it from a security standpoint, which is this person has a virus on their computer, which could take down our network, whether it's ransomware, whatever it might be. IT help desk is looking at it from a particular point of availability. Are our apps up? Are the things that we're trying to do up? Is the network up? Do we have any outages? So the security piece, the virus could cause an outage. So again, it's relatable, and it's that relationship. It should be a close knit relationship. So
and
hopefully
I'll add.
Go ahead.
I'll add to that in that another way that relates is, for me, I do a lot of that SOC analyst type thing too, because I do the vendor assessment. So if someone wants specific security or specific software put on their computer, they can't just install it. And IT help desk can't just install it because it has to go through me to say, yes, this is safe. So I'm the one that goes through and says, yes, this is, PII isn't in jeopardy. This is fine to do. They're not requesting realistic permissions, and then it comes through me to the help desk, and then they're able to, because we have role-based access control, that they can install things on their own. So the IT people will do it. So that's another avenue that, it's so many pieces to that, so many different things you can do with it.
Absolutely. Identity access management is one of those. Role-based access control ultimately means all the IT help desk people look alike. All the cybersecurity analysts look alike from a permissions perspective, meaning what you have access to. All the marketing people look alike, the lawyers look alike, and the CEO gets access to nothing.
You hope.
No, just listen to me. I'm a CEO, right? I have 2 tech companies. Please don't give me
I live in a different world.
I know you do. But I mean, honestly, because the CEO's admin is the person that's going to be getting these phishing requests, right? And so if the CEO doesn't have access, regardless of whether the admin, he, she, or they clicks on that link, the CEO has no access. Right. Because again, that's role-based access control. If they don't have access to it, guess what? You can fish all day, but you're fishing in a dry pond. And so these are the types of security things that you think about when you're thinking about who has access to what and what you should give access to whom. Everybody would say, oh, default, the CEO gets access to everything. No, please don't give me access to anything that I don't need access to,
And he's who
role-based access. So,
that's the CEO is who they want. They want that access. So they're the ones, when it comes to whaling, they're the one that's going to get all those random, hey, I need 500, gift cards. Hi.
and my apprentices got this. So right after I announced all the apprentices, they're the folks that had their email, Google crawls everything, LinkedIn has everything. So if you have your personal cell phone out there, change it, get you a Google Voice. It's okay. But they were impersonating me. Right after I announced the apprentice, people said, I told the apprentices, I said, listen here, I'm not texting you. I don't like text. My old self, my Gen X self is an email person. But Mary is not sending you no text message about buying her no gift cards. I told them to reply, you'll get your gift cards when I get my MiC merch.
Oh my gosh. Don't do that. Don't respond.
No, and they were responding until they figured out it wasn't me. I said, I don't even have your cell phone number on purpose.
That's hilarious, but not surprising. That's
I'm
not
a
surprising at all.
person, right? So I'm a PII, right? So it becomes, if I don't have it, I don't have to delete it because
plausible deniability.
It's great. Let me see. I don't have any other questions. What's been your favorite part of your role? That we were going to have to end with that. It's 4 minutes to go. So,
what's my favorite part? So I am very passionate about user security awareness. Like I mean, if I can get one person to really consider jumping on that open free Wi-Fi, then I feel like I've won. I mean, I'll tell this story. I went to my husband's homecoming a couple weekends ago, and one of his fraternity brothers says, "Hey, what's the Wi-Fi? Have you been having any trouble getting on the Wi-Fi?" And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm like in full like parade, red cup in my hand." And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I was just gonna check my bank account." And I was like, "No." And my husband just walks away. He's like, "Well, just lost that one." And I was like, "No." And so like for 10 minutes, I like berated him about why you shouldn't get on the Wi-Fi. So, but that's my favorite part because when they look at me, they're just like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yes, they can. They can do these things." As you see, I'm getting all flustered because I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What are you doing? Why?" Anyway, that's my favorite part.
No, and it's funny because I was at this conference yesterday and folks were connecting to the Wi-Fi. It is that cybersecurity conference, right? And so, but I'm actually literally on my laptop, actually connected to my phone, and that the hotspot that's available on the phone because that's what I'm doing. And it's like, no, I'm not. And I have my VPN or whatever, but I wasn't really doing anything. And I sure as heck, what I tell people, if you don't know what's in your bank account, then maybe you shouldn't be making that purchase, right? If you got to check to see
every
if
5
you got
minutes on
enough
your
money
phone
to make
from
the purchase,
from
you
outside
ain't
at the
got the money.
parade. And I was like, at the
You ain't got no
parade,
money.
I was like, fill his cup again. He obviously does not have had enough to drink, that he needs to be checking that phone right now. This is not
Right
it,
now. Good
sir.
job, Dave.
But that's my favorite.
You're missing. That's awesome. And again, it doesn't matter as I talk to beginners, middle end of your career. It doesn't really matter. You have to understand that these foundational elements, they never go away. We've been talking, don't connect to unsecured Wi-Fi for years from a security awareness perspective, but people still go and, oh, well, I'll do that. And it's like, okay, but didn't you know better though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had individuals send me their bank account information, and I'm saying, now I'm old school, Gen X, former FBI. I'm like, do you know I can just make a check with your routing number and your account number and just pay my bills from your account? You're miss. Oh well, because the bank says no, sweetheart. We can go old school. We go real old school. We just do check fraud. It's just I can make a check with your name, your business
Mm-hmm.
name. I got your signature. I have everything. And guess what? In that line, I'll just write cash.
Yep. And
I
now
will
with the
go.
technology, you don't even have to do it on paper. Like back in the day, you used to have to like cut and paste the letters on. I've never been a hacker, but I've seen it happen. And now you just go on there, download an app, make a check. There
And
you
be
go.
done. There you
Yeah,
go. There you go.
easy
I
peasy.
will not confirm nor deny. I'm former FBI, so
Yeah,
I can claim the hacker hat. I can claim that.
I'm
So
not. I'm not. You're not gonna get me to say that on Beyonce's
oh,
internet.
okay, we're gonna stop there. It's the top of the hour. It's been great, Z. Thank you so
Oh,
much
you're
for
welcome.
joining.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, and we look forward to having you. Unfortunately, the MIC conference will be during birthday time for the both of us. But on the March 25th, which is my birthday, we're going to the shooting range. So I think that's
Oh,
a win.
whew,
I think that's a win. I think that's a win, right? That's a win.
I'm sure. And mine is the next day. So yeah,
Yes, yes. That's a win. That's a win.
that's
That's a
great.
win-win. Yeah, but looking forward to seeing you hopefully next year. I know this year is a big day, but all that to be said, thank you guys for joining us today on a Friday night. Thank you for participating in this 5 o'clock call. We are going into November. We only have 2 more months of the year. But thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And you guys have a great evening. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.